this
happy
favor.
to.
This is kind of important because this is introducing, again, new staff at Reformation. I'll sit and stand and lean here. Well, I am Marge Johnson, and along with Thora Stallings, we've been at Reformation for kind of 30 years, each of us. So, and we're the heart and soul of the partnership and working with outreach in the community. You know Thora probably from the fact that she is in with the youth mission trip, and our kids go on the mission trip with your kids wherever they go, and are involved in immersion events that are in the city of Milwaukee. So we have had an interesting time. I think some of you know that we had pastors. Most of you met Marilyn Miller, who was our last pastor that was a permanent pastor. And then she did a good thing in extending her call to teaching anti-racism in the greater Milwaukee area and beyond. So she is no longer being a pastor of a church. She's taking care of her mother, who's 86 years old, and living with her, and moved on to continue the great work she did with anti-racism that many of you had time with her, heard her, and were in groups with. So then, the crazy thing is we've gone through quite a few changes since Marilyn left in 2020. We have had an interim come in and an interim go within 2 months. And there is not a plethora of folks to take the place right now. And so Thora and I just held down the fort for 4 months. Finally, I called the Synod and said, we really do need help. We're competent women, but this is to do the good work, we do need a little bit of help. So we did get the help. We got pastor who came in, Ron Ballou, and we had him for only 10 hours a week, but we did have somebody that brought the word and helped us worship again in a really meaningful way, which helps any church. And he was a glue for us at that point. And we brought in a part-time consultant who is Minister Stephen Marsh, who some of you may have met online. We do Bible study on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we do it with Zest. And you'll see the Zoom password and code to put in. I would really say join us sometime just to see what we're doing. We have pretty exciting Bible studies. And that's one way you can just show up. We are kind of a place that doesn't have a huge format like Cross had a format with the Bread of Life and the meal program, where you're talking a lot of people. When you think of Reformation, it's smaller. We've been a big church, we're a smaller church now. And at the same time, small can be good because when you walk in the door, you're going to be with people, a few people, and get to know people better. It's a more intimate setting. We're not in a big church either. Years and years ago, we moved from 35th and Garfield, right off of North, and that was a lovely hub. But as the bishop at that point said, you know, many churches are one roof away from bankruptcy. And we were unable to sustain. We had 45,000 square feet to maintain. And so a leak in the roof, after having the boiler replaced, would have been pretty much every penny that we had. Our church is kind of different. We do not have a middle class group of people. And we've become more Afrocentric over the years. So I'm trying to think back, maybe Jill could remember too, but if we were saying 15 years ago, 20 years ago, I was part of a group that was predominantly African American, but was also Caucasian people, and some of the people from the community are Hispanic. Now, because of attrition, just basic life, happening, our group is young people and 30, 40 somethings that are African American. And most of those people are employed but underemployed. And so we are a church that really lives with many people who are impoverished. And we help the people in the neighborhood who are impoverished. We actually put in our budget every year. It's a faith budget. Can you hear me with this on, by the way? I didn't know, I should have.
You're welcome. I think, is she okay to take it off if you're
Okay, I'll step
comfortable?
back too.
And we can sometimes hear you
boosted.
better. Yeah.
The interesting thing about our small congregation is that it's small but mighty. And the folks that go there just believe so thoroughly in God and Jesus and what God and Jesus can do in our lives. So there really isn't anything stopping us, save for the fact it's been a really big change to go from this big building with multiple types of ministry into what's called, it's a retail space. It's on Lisbon Avenue, 38th and Lisbon. And it looks like a store, but not a storefront church. It looks like a modern, contemporary retail space. And it's under 2,500 square feet. So we have to do ministry in a very small space, and so it's different. And it's really a different space for us. So that, I think, is more of the struggle than we realize, that we used to be on a bus stop at a major crossroads with all kinds of complementary businesses. Family Dollar was across the street, so if people saw a sign that $6 bag sale or something about a summer youth work program, then they'd come across the street and come in, and the hospitality's always, the coffee's always on, and somebody's always there to speak with people. So we had more options of bringing people in. On 38th and Lisbon, it's a diagonal street, and we tried to buy a building, but we couldn't. We had the money in hand. We had cash in hand. And we sold that building rather quickly. It was kind of a surprise to us to sell that big church so quickly. But from the start of sale to the end, it was 5 months perhaps, and we had to move out and squeeze into a little space. And the problem was that you can't move in that area into a business if you're a nonprofit by Board of Zoning Appeal, statutes. They want taxable income, and that can be understood. But there weren't a lot of nonprofits or old churches selling. So we fished around for a while and ended up in a very lovely place. And we're in a tandem ministry with the United Methodist Children's Services. That's long been on the corner of 40th and Lisbon. And if you think about Washington Park, we're right, kitty corner, adjacent to Washington Park. So what we're doing now with kids and with Ussens, we're using the park. We're using the park a lot more and having a collaboration with the Washington Park Ecology Center, which is right there at the pond. And we fish there, and we have walks there. Outreach for Hope was cajoled into having a city site this year, so it was Washington Park. And we did the Martin Luther King scholarship walk. And these are things, next year I'll say, can you come with us? Because it's right close to our home base, so we can have a little coffee together and then walk. This year we had about 20 people from Reformation, and then about 30 for the Outreach for Hope walking. So those are things we could actually do together as partners, and hopefully by September, outside we won't even have to think about these. We're getting to the point where we all need to be together and have a real hug. How do you show up then? Well, it's interesting. You can't walk, you can walk in the door if you want. Most of us, especially the staff, is inoculated. And I know people don't want to be close to people, but we have a mask rule. And so we do our Bible study in person, and we have a really beautiful worship at 10. Our worship leaders are fun, and our tradition of the really lovely singing, even though it's on tape and we're usually not singing out loud and we have mass. The African American spiritual is well and live at Reformation and contemporary black music. So we're always inviting people. And your Tim Green, who's a partner, what we would like to call a dual partner, is here at your church, and he's present every Sunday over at Reformation. And after the service, he takes everybody home because most people don't have cars. They can depend on Tim. And I asked him a couple months ago, I said, what was it like when you retired? What kind of plan did you have? Because I'm nearing that age and I'm thinking, how do you discern? And he said, I didn't really do anything. He said, I kind of golfed a while. And he said that when that got a little old, he said, I just answered my phone. And I said, what do you mean by that? And he said, well, I kept getting calls from people at Reformation needing to go to the doctor or go to the pharmacy or go shopping, or Thora calling saying we've got a kids trip, we need somebody to drive a van so we can go from here to there. And so we see Tim all the time. And we also see Carrie Brewer, who comes for coffee. She doesn't drink the coffee. She brings her dog with her and has a little tea and just became friends with people who are there. And I think it's blessed her, and it surely blessed us because now we just have another friend that comes toward us. And we have we're the first church to have a youth work program during the summer. So kids have something meaningful to do. And we always did it by faith budget, which meant we did pay the kids, and a lot of kids knocked on the door, and we didn't want to say no, so we said yes, and then we just believed that kids would come. And so I'm going to let Jill Hughes tell you just a snippet about what we do, and it will be like last summer. And I want you to tell them what we do and what you do.
Hi, I'm Jill Hughes. My husband Nick and I have been members at St. Matthew's since 1992. Our kids have gone here, baptized, been on all the mission trips with everybody. And I think I've been at Reformation 15, 20 years easily as well. So I kind of like Carrie and Tim. I wanted to get involved. I met Marsh probably 20 years ago, and I just started going down there. At the time it was 35th and North. I think Pastor Mick was the pastor at the time. Pastor Steve, I've been through a few pastors down there, Pastor Marilyn. And I've dragged my kids along with me many times, and I know that sounds bad to drag them, but you know what they're like in middle school. And that's when we used to go out and clean up the neighborhoods and mow and pick up garbage. So the summer youth program, so I'm a public school teacher. This is year 34 for me, I believe, at public high school. I'm a high school teacher. And my husband's the high school principal across the street over there at East, currently also at West. He's doing both buildings right now. So, partly why I got involved is I'm a teacher and I teach high school, and I saw these kids at Reformation is very kid heavy, like you just said, always has been. And these kids in the summer didn't have, they need something to do, especially the 13 to 16-year-olds that weren't out in jobs yet and they weren't quite knowing what to do. Their parents are working all day. Or maybe working at night and sleeping in the day. These people are working. These kids needed something, so this program started way back with Mick, and it's been going on
86.
86, yeah. So Marsh is a godsend. She writes grants. I think the Siebert Foundation is still one of our big. So the Siebert Foundation is one of the big providers of some of the funds that we need for the summer program. So what I do, I work with the older kids. Thora tends to work with the younger kids. Pastor Marilyn, bless her heart, was working with those middle school kids. That's by far the hardest. If you know anything, that's a hard age to deal with. So we used to try to just have older kids, and they kept bringing the younger ones with them. So I think that's kind of how the program expanded, because they would just show up with siblings, and then what are you going to do, right? So we ended up having just different levels, making them into groups. They are given breakfast and lunch. It used to just be lunch. It's kind of expanded into all of it. The high school program has expanded out of Reformation. We are not even there in the summer anymore. So what we do, and this is going to be my ask for you, is we place the kids on job sites throughout the community. We've had, last year was kind of a lower number. I think I only had 20 kids, which it wasn't a big. Last summer, in their defense, a lot of them were in summer school, a lot of summer school. These are MPS high school students. When COVID hit, a lot of them kind of just didn't do what they needed to do, which is everywhere, by the way, all in Tulsa included, everywhere, okay? So these kids needed to get into school and get caught up. So we had, and even some of the 20 that I had were doing online summer school and trying to piece it together. Usually it's closer to 30, 25 to 30. And then what we do is we have businesses that agree to teach them, it's on the job training, okay? No one's ever, a lot of these kids have never been shown how to get to work on time, how to, do a job. They're super smart, they're super motivated, they want to do well. They get on the job sites, they just need a mentor and an adult. That's all they need, okay? Just One More has been great. I know that you've been down there with our students a lot of times. So we usually have Just One More Ministry takes a couple of the kids, and they unload trucks and help you guys put stuff in the freezers and make meals. We've had Fresh and Safe, which is a large provider for school and institutional meals down on the south side. That was a good partner. We didn't get to. Last year was kind of a lot of places said, no, we can't have people come in person. So the YWCA down on has taken some kids.
And you used to have Cranky Al's.
Right,
so
Cranky Al's here. Those guys, Joey used to take kids over here at Cranky Al's. It's just COVID has made everything hard. Trickle Bee Cafe, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. That is run by a pastor. It's a cafe. If you've never been, it's fabulous. She does such a good job. It's pay what you can afford to pay for your meal kind of place. It's a great concept. Coffee Makes You Black has been one of the places that we've, that's kind of, it's on a, what's that, what is
Sherman.
this? Sherman, yeah, I was gonna say it's on a divide.
Yeah.
It's in an old bank. So I get all these kids placed with Thora. We get, well, Pastor Marilyn or Thora, we kind of have in May. Then we decide who's going where. Next generation, all that way. We've had them all over the place. And then my job is to connect with whoever's supervising them and make sure they're there, make sure they're what the issues are. And then on Fridays, they come back to Reformation, and I do some job training with them on resume writing. We work on filling out job applications, some simple, I think a lot of people think, they know how to fill out an application. Well, how would they know that? No one's teaching them that. So just basic job skills. We sit in a circle to start with, and what's going well, what's not going well, some plus delta, what's happening out there. And they have some interesting, I don't like so-and-so, and I don't, whatever. So we have to talk a lot about how you behave at work, and if you don't like someone, we all work with people we don't like, that's how that works. So it's just, yeah, and then we have lunch. I usually stop and pick up Domino's or some kind of fun lunch for them on Fridays, and then they head out. The two biggest issues that we have are getting work sites and adults that will help us with these kids, and transportation. So I'm going to tell you at the beginning of the summer, and actually if you want to help, money for bus tickets. And I go down to Fond du Lac and First and Fond du Lac, to the big major bus depot place, I don't know if you've ever been there, and I buy tickets in big bulk quantity, so that Marilyn and Marge, or whoever, T and Marge, can get these tickets to families. A couple summers ago I got passes, and then I found out that that was a bad idea because someone in the family just took the pass and used it, and then, so we literally have to, here's your ticket for this week and whatever. The other thing is you gotta consider these are 13 or 14-year-olds, maybe that they've never been on the bus and they don't even know how to do it. So a lot of times a parent has to ride it with them to start with, figure out the route to where they're going, where they're gonna get off, the building they're gonna be in, and then figure out how to get home and what time that looks like. So that's been an issue. Like, I swear the first week of summer every year, I get the first day they're supposed to show up at work, somebody calls me, I missed my bus. You know, then I'm Tim Green, I'm driving kids all the time in the summer. I have made it clear though, this is not, you know, I am not their Uber all summer, so, because that tends to be, it's for me. They're like, you'll just come get me. I'm like, I also teach summer school and other things I'm doing. So they are gonna learn to ride the bus and then get out on these job sites. And then at the end of the summer, we come back, and if we track all their hours, they have timesheets, and if they have met all the requirements, thanks to grants and partner churches, they're given a backpack with all their school supplies, and they're given a stipend of cash that they can use to spend to have at the beginning of the year. So they're not paid till the end, they have to complete the program. So I get a lot of calls of things that happen throughout the summer, but it's been rewarding. It's a lot, and they're on shifts, some are in the morning, some are in the afternoon. They're all over the place. They're usually working 3 or 4 days a week, it's not the whole week. And like, you take that 1 week off for mission usually. So, does anyone have any questions about the program? Like I said, bus money for food, bus tickets, and that would be helpful. And if you have a business or know of anyone you think, and keep in mind transportation. So Joey was about as far, you know, Cranky Al's over here, you can come up 68th on a bus, you know, but, or up 76 on a bus. You can't really get too far out. It's, I think, this is
helpful to be closer.
It's helpful to be closer in the
I
city.
mean, Tulsa would be great.
Tulsa's great, yeah, but Brookfield gets a little far, and because we've had a couple places, I'm like, I don't know. So if you have any, and we've got a girl, there's been a gentleman at State Farm Insurance who, you know, he loves her. He's just been fabulous, but she's eventually gonna, she is senior this year? She might be graduating, so hopefully we try to keep these same. We've had some people at the neighborhood clinic. We're kind of selective of who we're gonna put in those positions, because that has to do with privacy and, you know, HIPAA laws and whatever, but yeah, so we kind of try and place them in some daycares in their areas of interest and in a place that we know they can handle, so.
Last year, we got a call from one of the partners in Delafield, and she said, I heard that the museum is having the first exhibit, premier exhibit of Nelson Mandela, Journey to Freedom. And I just was like, yes, that's true. And I had planned to go to it, and Ron Ballou had already gone and said it could be life-changing. You know, for him it meant so much as a 75-year-old black man who'd been through many struggles, seen many things, and actually is the volunteer chaplain for Black String Triage Ensemble, part of the ELCA, and it's a string ensemble with black artists that go to scenes of violence in our southeastern Wisconsin. So they were in Kenosha the night of all of the unrest, and that's his heart. So that's why he left us. We didn't want to let him go, but he'd been with us almost a year, and he left. But he led many beautiful conversations last summer with the kids that were back at the ranch. See, she's dealing with the kids.
He came one time to ours too.
Did he?
Yeah, and he was fabulous.
He's just, it's with all his heart, you know, it's a passion. And so this partner who is my age and my color said, well, the kids should all go to that. It's in Milwaukee. And I said, you're right. And she said, so we advertised that in our Gleanings newsletter, and all kinds of partners, including people in this room, gave us enough money that we were able to have kids go to the exhibit, and sure enough, it changed their lives. It just was, you know, kids need to see leaders. They need to see the good things that have happened. And this year, we're gonna look at Desmond Tutu's life. So there's good things on tap, and if we can go on field trips and have the learnings that go with what's really happening in the culture, it helps kids feel not so alone. Because this is, I mean, you help with kids that, I mean, when you're talking about 13-year-old having to go stand at a bus stop, maybe not in a specific neighborhood that they're familiar with, get on a bus, sit with different people, go, and then have to figure out when you're stopping on that bus, even though maybe you've been shown, and walk into a business and you're probably going to be the only African-American person. Now let's talk bravery.
Right.
So the kids understand what's going on in our culture, and they want to talk turkey. They want to talk real stuff. They want to be real people. So they have been given a voice at Reformation that's pretty profound and helps all of us learn. Sir?
You want to raise African-American children, especially teens, you want to raise their self-esteem? I'll tell you what, it was either Harvard or Yale University decided to do, because there was so much stereotyping in the United States. Oh, African-Americans are good at football and basketball, Asians are good at gymnastics or mathematics, and white people were the architects and engineers. This was the stereotyping for many, many years. So they did a study, and they decided they wanted to find out who the smartest people in the world were. How do you do that? You determine how many PhDs, you have to be awfully bright to be a PhD. They decided to go to every country in the world and do a study to see how many PhDs there were per capita. What country do you think has the most PhDs per capita? Nigeria. These are African people. I actually worked with a man from Nigeria. He had 2 degrees, a mechanical engineering degree, and he couldn't find work. He went back and got a civil engineering degree, more classes. I came to work one day and I worked in bridges and structures. And he's unpacking a box and he introduced himself. He says, "My name is Michael Udaikom." He says, I said, "Where are you from?" I said, "The Caribbean." I said, "You have an accent?" "Oh no," he says, "I'm from Nigeria." Well, we had a lot of nice conversations. And he asked me if he could listen to the Christian radio station. We played, you know, we had a radio in the room and we played elevator music. I said, "Sure." I said, I'm Lutheran." "Oh, me too," he said. So a few years later I came to work, he's packing his box. I said, "Michael, where are you going?" "Oh," he said, "my people need leadership." He says, "Don, I'm going to become a Lutheran pastor." And he is today. And his church is somewhere on the border of Illinois and Indiana. I haven't seen him for quite a few years, but I went to his ordination. He's the first man I ever hugged, because he was such a kindly person. His attitude was, well, someone bumped his car. "I suppose you said a few words about that." "Oh no," he said, "God," he says, I had too much pride," he says, "so God bring me down."
Thank you. We have
fantastic.
a half hour.
Thank you.
I want to give Cross a little time
Yes,
too. So
absolutely.
Marge, Jill, thank you so much.
Come visit us.
Yes.
Can I just ask Jill a quick question?
Sure.
Sure, because we need to set
On
this
these
up
jobs
again. Do you mind,
that the
Fran?
students go to or the youth go to, I understand they get a stipend at the end. Do they get paid for their work from the job site?
No, that's the deal. The payment comes through the grants that Marsh and partners that provide. So the businesses kind of, it's a win-win in my opinion. If they get a student that will help take the need, you know, there are jobs out there that they can't fill right now. We hear it all the time, right?
Right.
These kids want to work, you don't even have to pay them, we will take care of that at the end. You just have to help them, mentor them. A lot of the mentoring is just basic skills at a workplace, being on time, how to take your break appropriately, not, what to do at your job and how to learn. It's just.
I find it amazing that it's working, because having taught children of poverty, there's no tomorrow in their life. Or often, that's one of the problems with poverty, is that they live for the day.
Right.
And that they will stay with the program that long.
Yeah, I mean, it's the summer, but they've done it for years and years, and I think it's
I think it's amazing.
Yeah, they know there's an end in sight. It's 6, 7 weeks. It's not
5.
Yeah, it's not.
We're part of a faith community that engenders hope. So we are a little bit different, and how we treat the kids is probably very different. So there's some hope, but there is a lot of sadness. Last year, I must say that when I went with Thora to the site of a homicide with the kids, because it was near our church, and our church is the community, she asked the kids if they had knew a relative or a friend that had been killed by violence. And all of the kids but 2 raised their hands. And there were tears. There were little boys in tears. So, and there were hugs by our staff. So, it's church. It's about Christ and hope. And we'll do this together. I mean, this is really important to do together, because to think of a child that has no hope is well, that hurts our heart. So we're doing it together.
Thank you, Marge. Are we okay if I introduce our video? It's Linda Radner from Cross. Is there anyone else here to speak to the Cross partnership? Are you Tom?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, terrific, good. Let's hear what Linda has to say, and then the table is yours. Thank you, Brian. And just note, Brian is actually videotaping this. It'll go on our church YouTube channel, and a chance for us to promote our conversation to those who aren't here in person. So let's go.
Hi everyone, I'm Linda Radner. I'm the faith community nurse at Cross Lutheran Church. I've been here since 2004. And I just want to talk about some of the programs we have at Cross Lutheran and how people from St. Matthew's and Wauwatosa can help us and how they do help us. So for a number of years we've had what we call the Bread of Healing Empowerment Ministry. This happens on Wednesdays, and it's pretty much an all-day program. It starts with a continental breakfast, and then we have a nutrition class. People just sort of hang out, and then we have a lunch at about 11:30. We also on that day have Bible study, and then the food pantry. During the food pantry, we also have men's and women's groups. Then the people from the men and women's groups go to the food pantry once they're done with their groups. So, of course, with COVID, we haven't been able to have very much of this at all. We were able to continue with our nutrition class twice a month in our fellowship hall, which we felt safely holds about 25 people. And that's been very successful. Nancy Wilkie from St. Matthew's has helped me with the nutrition class at times, and we're grateful for that. We also have been able to do our food pantry. We do that now on the 2nd and 4th Wednesdays of the month, and we're so grateful for the help we receive from St. Matthew's as far as food. Just recently, we've noticed though that the people who come to the food pantry, the numbers have not been as many. And we think that's because people have an increase now on their quest cards, on their food cards, of the dollar amounts. And so they're much better able to buy their own food, and they don't need as much food from food pantries. So we still provide food and meat and produce, But we've also asked for partners to bring us or to donate hygiene items, because that's what we feel people cannot buy with their food cards. And so that's been well received. Things like shampoo, deodorant, soap. We also need paper products, Kleenex, toilet tissue, things like that. So we're grateful for the help that St. Matthew's been able to give us. We also know that St. Matthew's is encouraging us and saying prayers for us. We also received generous amount of gift cards at Christmas that we could share with our food pantry participants and even with some of our parishioners who do not have as many things as some of the rest of us do. So we look forward to opening again when we can, when COVID is not surging as it is again right now. And we will look forward to the time when we can be together again, giving food to people with our meal program as well as in our food pantries. So thank you very much for all you've done for us, and please continue working with us and keeping us in your prayers.
Tom, Nancy, the floor is yours.
Holy cow.
How about that?
Yeah, my name is Tom Wilkie. I wasn't sure what Linda was going to say, so I guess I've got a lot of ground to cover. I volunteer at the clinic. There's 3 medical clinics. They cross, there's Florist Avenue Church, Cross, and Eastbrook. I work in the pharmacy, and we dispense close to $3 million worth of medication. And we actually have an out-of-pocket cost on that of about only $50,000. So as bad as the drug companies seem, they're easy to get free medication from. But imagine if you've got a family, you're living below the poverty line, and you or your kids are sick. Well, we take those patients. We give them free medication, free everything. I've never worked at the Florist Avenue or Eastbrook location, but at Cross, there's internal medicine, there's GI doctors, there's rheumatology, there's psychiatry, there's allergy. I mean, we've got really good coverage. Medications, if they need a certain type of medication, we can usually do that. Some people walk out of the clinic if they've got diabetes and breathing problems with $1,000 worth of medication a month, and that's free to them. So we are making a difference. I see a neurologist, and it turns out that that person, when she was younger, volunteered at Cross.
She grew up there.
Huh?
She grew up in that church.
I know, that's what I'm saying. She grew up in that church, and she volunteered at Cross. And she was mentored by one of the doctors. She went to medical school. She's a phenomenal neurologist. I mean, well liked. I had a volunteer from Marquette. She wasn't sure what her education was going to be. She was going to Marquette. She wasn't sure about her occupation. Turns out, it just completely astounded me, she went to pharmacy school. We make a difference. As far as medications go, it is, the way we're set up as a nonprofit, it is perfectly legal to use your unused medications. You can drop them off at church. We also need prescription vials. If you have unused medication, just cross off your name. We don't need your name, we just need the name of the medication, and we can use it, we do. And the things we can't use, we destroy. But Cross is making a difference. The people we serve are below the poverty line, and they don't have health insurance. So right now, Cross, because of COVID, they're doing telehealth. If there is an issue, they come into the clinic, and we take care of them. I mean, it's really made a difference in my life. I feel like I'm doing something for the greater good of humanity. I mean, I walk out of there and it's a great location. We can always use volunteers. It doesn't, just show up, okay?
And you need the medicine, the clean medicine bottles with no labels on.
Yeah.
I've got a grocery bag full.
Oh.
Don Ralphs started that with the Kiwanis Club to donate to your clinic at Cross.
I cannot say enough about Don. He is active in several groups, and he put the word out that we need empty prescription vials. And once a month, I will walk out of his house with 2 or 3 big garbage bags that we can use.
Carload.
Huh?
Carload.
Carlo, yeah. I mean, he is a godsend. We get vials from Madison. I pick up unused medications from Harwood Place, from San Camilo, from the nuns. It's just a win-win situation for everybody. Yeah.
I was gonna say, so right now you're not volunteering though because of COVID for the short term.
Yeah,
But
right
we
now.
still take the medicines
Yes.
down there.
At this point, the volunteers were told to stay home for a while, just for safety reasons. So I haven't volunteered for a couple of weeks, but that'll change. So I really, really appreciate the time you took, listening, and not yelling at me. Okay?
It's funded through Aurora, right? Is that who runs the clinic? I think so, right?
I'm in the dark as to where they get their money from. So I really don't even want to comment on it, but I believe Aurora funds a fair amount of the salary people and the insurance for those salary people. So a plug for Aurora, okay? Any questions? But thanks for bringing up Don Rouse. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably bring a bag of those on Wednesday, Pastor Margaret's class, and I'll leave them down in the downstairs.
Yeah, that's great. I get calls from church, and it's time to pick up medication, so, yes.
You mentioned that most of the people are uninsured or living below the poverty line. Are there qualifications that you have to meet or not meet in order to use those services?
Basically, you can't have insurance.
Okay.
Because we don't bill insurance companies. So if you've got insurance, that's a disqualification.
I was gonna say, talk about why can you give out those medications again? Because it's more like a doctor.
The way we work the pharmacy is that we don't have a pharmacy license. If we had a pharmacy license, we could not do what we're doing. We treat the medications as a physician's sample closet. So that way, it is perfectly legal to do what we're doing. I mean, if you've got 3 months of medication that was discontinued, we can use it. We take donations of over-the-counter things. We're always looking for Tylenol, multiple vitamins, baby aspirin, things like that. Yes.
Oh, and I was gonna say also like
Oh,
people
yeah.
donate used equipment, walkers and wheelchairs and CPAP, I don't know if you
Yeah,
take that, but
I mean,
all sorts of stuff,
If it's
so.
medical and you're not
Yeah.
using it, we probably can use it. And the things we can't use, go to places where people can use it, so. Yes.
I guess I don't understand the basic, how do you know what the patient needs?
Oh, the physician, actually, we keep charts on all the patients. And if you came in with high blood pressure or high blood sugar, the physician would actually put you on a medication. And our job is to fill that, and we usually give out a month's supply.
A physician there in the,
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
yeah, yeah.
oh.
Yes.
It's a
but
regular clinic.
We even
Oh.
have a dental chair.
Mhm.
I was blown away by what the physicians can do. We have a ton of physicians that are either paid or volunteer, and they work tirelessly. So every month, if you put on a medication, we'll review the medication, see if there's any conflicts. We'll fill the medication, put it in a Ziploc bag, and then you can pick it up. We deliver. We were going house to house giving vaccines. There are so many things that Cross does that I'm probably skipping over. But if you need medical care and you don't have insurance, that's what Cross is there for. Yeah.
This is like very specific, so if you don't know, that's fine. But do you know like the average age of the population served?
It goes from the whole gamut.
Okay.
A lot of our patients have breathing problems, high blood pressure, high blood sugar. We go through, we've got one refrigerator that is stocked with insulin. And some people literally walk out with $1,000 worth of medication a month. Yes,
Are there set hours at the clinic when the people can see the doctors?
yes, yes.
And do they have to make an appointment or?
Well, if it's an urgent thing, obviously you call the clinic and they'll take care of you. During COVID, they cut back on a lot of physician contact with the patients. So they do a televisit over the phone. And they determine if you need help, you come in. And the clinic's open Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. But on Wednesdays, if it was urgent, I'm pretty sure they could take care of you. So for me, it's been a godsend. I feel I enjoy it, so. Yes.
No,
Oh,
I
okay.
just have one other medicine. So I know you take a lot of expired medicines, is that
Mhm.
correct? So how long are they good for?
Yes, I mean, there are studies that when a medication is a certain amount of time, that the drug companies, if a medication is expired, at that date, it still has to be like 95% effective. Otherwise, they have to issue a recall. So expiration dates on medication are extremely conservative. So, I mean, if you've got something that, whatever, eye drops, vitamins, whatever, if it's unopened, we can use it. So, our feeling is something is better than nothing. So, and we do a lot of some things. Okay? Yes.
This is for both parishes. Do you get funding or is it grant-wise through the Milwaukee Synod or ELCA?
I don't know.
Marge, you would know, right?
Well, I know, Outreach for Hope, you all know Outreach for Hope, probably does something good for Cross, and they do for Reformation. And right now, we have at Reformation, we have a ELCA national domestic hunger grant because we do safe sleep for babies. That's something we'll always do for infants, because infants were dying in the 53208 zip code, and so we applied for a grant to teach don't co-sleep any longer, parents, and it's, you know, it's culturally, we're teaching that from black women, talking to other black parents, because it's been customary. And so to have the health department tell you, but if somebody else with passion for it, who actually lost family members because of it, is training you, it's real. So yes, we get that, and I'm thinking any other, the Synod has done a couple nice things. I bet you got some COVID money, and we got COVID money to help families. A year ago, we got 2 different COVID little stipends, and we need it because we spent $20,000 $27,000, we went over budget just to help families, emergency money.
Marge, just explain the spirit of partnerships too. I mean, some of your partners give financially, but it's more than that too, right?
Well, yeah,
Yes.
but
It's
in
the
we're in
spirit
the
of,
same
you know, what
boat.
I
I
loved
mean,
is this.
look,
Yeah.
I'm looking at Tom here and Jill, and they're taking their giftedness and using it in service to the world, and thank God, God called you.
Yeah.
I mean, you were delivering clothes to us for a while.
Yeah.
Well, okay, but this young man here has skill set that really works at Cross in such a huge way. So it's a blessing everywhere it goes. And I hope the same is true for Jill. She works her butt off, and this is not easy work when you're working with kids. But we have a spot for everybody to fit in. A few years ago, we were giving out our Christmas gifts through the neighborhood store. People were coming and getting really low cost, brand new gifts. Well, the Kemp's family, when they were here, came and they helped wrap the gifts. So the mom could go home and it wouldn't be, you know, the toy baby doll, it would be all wrapped for Christmas. And it's just this beautiful little hospitable thing to do. People bake cookies for us.
Diane Rinsnowski, you guys know Diane? So she is right, isn't she?
Mount Carmel.
Mount Carmel, oh, she's not here, but, she's gardener, master.
She's a master
gardener.
gardener.
So we have these huge gardens, we have a big plot, and that was her passion. So,
I guess the piece that I just have applauded about partnership is there might be financial gifts given from
Yes.
congregations who have
For
more
sure.
affluence, but it's never dictated. It's always within conversation
Amen.
with the congregation, saying what is God calling you to do in your ministry,
Amen.
and you know, how can we partner with you
Exactly.
with the gifts we can bring.
What do
Yeah.
you need? Because sometimes people come to us, and that happens at places like Cross and Reformation, telling us what we need. And that doesn't really work. But when you come with an open heart and say, what's happening at your place? Where could you need help? Then you find, oh boy,
Yeah.
we really need bus ticket money.
Yeah.
And you got somebody that's gonna help do it.
That's
So
right.
it can be the littlest thing, but you have giftedness to give us.
Yeah.
We may start tutoring this year. Once we get over the hump on COVID, you may hear more, and I would love it if I was able to get names that I could send you our newsletter, because that will show you the things that are happening, and maybe you say, I'd like to do that. I'd like to be a part of that. So, yes, there's always a place.
That's cool. I just, our time is kind of winding down, but I love that it's ending with some passion, and I think it's just, thank you for coming and speaking today, and to get caught up, what's going on in partnership. So can I just end with a word of prayer and put out a word of blessing on this ministry. Good and gracious God, I just thank you for those speaking today about Cross and Reformation, and for those of us getting to listen to the exciting things that you are doing in your people, Lord, wherever you have placed us. Continue to be a God that shows up with your miracles and with your grace, and continue to give hope and excitement for the work that you are doing in our lives. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
So are you in schools or?